Hello students, and welcome to the lecture on input-output. After this lecture, we will be able to learn the following objectives. Explain peripheral devices. Define I/O interface. Explain I/O ports. Define DMA in detail. Let's start with a brief introduction of input-output. A general-purpose computer should have the ability to exchange information with a wide range of devices in varying environments. Computers can communicate with other computers over the internet and access information around the globe. They are an integral part of home appliances, manufacturing equipment, transportation systems, banking, and point-of-sale terminals. A simple arrangement to connect I/O devices to a computer is to use a single bus arrangement. Each I/O device is assigned a unique set of addresses. When the processor places a particular address on the address lines, the device that recognizes this address responds to the commands issued on the control lines. The processor requests either a read or write operation, which is transferred over the data lines. When I/O devices and the memory share the same address space, the arrangement is called memory-mapped I/O. The address decoder enables the device to recognize its address when this address appears on the address lines. The data register holds the data. The status register contains information. The address decoder, data and status registers, and controls required to coordinate I/O transfers constitutes the interface circuit. For example, a keyboard. An instruction that reads a character from the keyboard should be executed only when a character is available in the input buffer of the keyboard interface. The processor repeatedly checks a status flag to achieve the synchronization between processor and I/O device, which is called a program-controlled I/O. Let's now discuss peripheral devices. A peripheral is a device that is connected to a computer, but it's not part of the core computer architecture. The core elements of a computer are the central processing unit, power supply, motherboard, and the computer case containing these three components. Technically speaking, everything else is considered a peripheral device. However, this is a somewhat narrow view since various other elements are required for a computer to actually function, such as a hard drive and random access memory, or RAM. Most people use the term peripheral more loosely to refer to a device external to the computer case. He or she connects the device to the computer to expand the functionality of the system. Types of peripheral devices. There are many different peripheral devices, but they fall into three general categories. Input devices, such as a mouse and a keyboard. Output devices, such as a monitor and a printer. Storage devices, such as a hard drive or flash drive. How are peripherals connected? Internal peripherals are directly connected to the motherboard using one of the different types of slots on the motherboard. External devices can be connected using a wired connection or a wireless connection. As the name suggests, a wired connection uses a cable that needs to be plugged into the computer using a connector. The most widely used connector is a universal serial bus, or USB, connection, but several other types are used depending on the specific computer system and the type of peripheral. Mouse. A mouse is a hardware input device that was invented by Douglas Engelhard in 1963 while working at Xerox PARC, who at the time was working at the Stanford Research Institute, which was a think tank sponsored by Stanford University. Advantages of a mouse. The advantages of a mouse are to move. Using the right or left hand, you can drag the mouse up, down, left, or right to move the mouse pointer on the screen. Select. When the mouse pointer is on top of an object on the screen, click the mouse left button once to highlight the item. Open. Click the left mouse button twice quickly. Double-click to open the icon, program, or document. Viewing properties. To view the properties of anything on the computer, select the object or text with the left mouse button, and then click with the right mouse button, right-click, to view the properties. If one views the properties of text, one will be given a menu with options such as cut, copy, and paste. Keyboard. As the name implies, a keyboard is basically a board of keys. Along with the mouse, the keyboard is one of the primary input devices used with a computer. The keyboard's design comes from the original typewriter keyboards, which arranged letters and numbers in a way that prevented the type bars from getting jammed when typing quickly. This keyboard layout is known as the QWERTY design, which gets its name from the first 6 letters across the upper left-hand corner of the keyboard.
Today's modern applications really go hand in hand with peripheral devices such as scanners, digital cameras, and digital tablets. And now I'm going to spend a little time talking about the benefits to using them. And the best news of all is that these devices give you a great excuse to get new shiny toys. It works for me every single time. I say, honey, I really need that digital camera, and I need a new Wacom tablet, and I need a new scanner. And she says, why do you need all these things? Because without those tools, I can't make the money that helps you buy shoes. And that pretty much seals the deal. So that's why I have shiny toys everywhere. I get toys, she gets shoes. It works great. Now, let's go ahead and start off with the first device you might want to pick up. This is called a Wacom tablet, and you can visit this website at wacom.com, and you choose the country that you live in, and then of course you'll come to this screen here. Now, a Wacom tablet is simply an alternative to a traditional mouse, like this guy here. And as you see, this guy is drawing on this tablet, and it's connected to your computer. And the reason you might want to use this is because, first of all, it can really relieve the stress that a mouse can cause to your carpal tunnel, and I haven't had any wrist problems since I've been using this thing. It can also help you to draw more naturally, the way you were taught to draw when you were a little kid. You're actually able to tilt it and paint with it, and it also gives you pressure sensitivity. So the harder you press down, the thicker the stroke of the brush. The lighter the stroke. So it's a really great investment. And they come in several flavors. You have the Graphire line, which is the lowest price ones, and these are great. A lot of my students have these. You also have the Intuos, which is what I have, and it's a great device. They both come with a mouse and the stylus, which is the pen that you draw with. You also have the Cintiq, and this one is where you draw literally on the screen itself. Now, my wife doesn't love me that much to let me get one of those. Those are pretty expensive, so there's not enough shoes in the world to make that deal. So that's a Wacom tablet that you might want to check out. Get one of these 3. They will really change the way you work with Photoshop. Now, what else do you want to use? A digital camera. Phones these days have cameras. You can get one in the store that's disposable. You can get all kinds of cameras. And what you want the camera to do is provide you with texture, so you can go out and take a picture of a brick wall, a door, woods, trees, leaves, and then you can bring those textures into the computer and then bring them into Photoshop. It's invaluable. So if you can get your hands on a digital camera, find one. Just get one. It's important. And a scanner. A scanner is important for people like myself who'd like to draw traditionally. I like to draw my characters on paper first, scan them in, and then color them in Photoshop or do my color correction or my image editing. Now, slowly but surely, I am drawing more and more with the pad and tablet here. I'm not really drawing too much with the paper, so I'm trying to really get away from paper altogether, and a lot of artists are doing that as well. So, those are some of the peripheral devices that you want to get your hands on, and once again, just make some kind of deal with your significant other. Tell them the benefits of having them, because you'll work faster, you'll work more comfortably, and the more comfortable you are, the more money you can make, and the more shoes or gadgets that person can buy.
Overview of each section of the keyboard. The keyboard is the primary portion of the keyboard that contains all alphanumeric and symbol keys. Today, most users use the QWERTY style keyboards. Function keys. The function keys, or F1 through F12 keys, are used in programs as shortcut keys to perform frequently performed tasks. For example, the F1 key is the key to open the online help for most programs. Control keys. The control keys are what give additional control of a document. Keypad. Although not available on all computer keyboards, Especially laptops, the keypad gives the user a quick access to numbers and math functions, such as plus, divide, times, and subtract. Wrist pad. This plastic wrist pad is included with the keyboard and is intended to help support the user's wrists and relieve stress found from typing on a keyboard. Many computer keyboards do not include a wrist pad. However, there are hundreds of different options for keyboard wrist pads that can be purchased at any local computer retail store or online. Arrow keys. Finally, the arrow keys are 4 directional arrow keys that allow the user to move their cursor and position it on the page. Printer. A printer is an external hardware device responsible for taking computer data and generating a hard copy of that data. Printers are one of the most used peripherals on computers and are commonly used to print text, images, and photos. In computers, a printer is a device that accepts text and graphic output from a computer and transfers the information to paper, usually to standard size sheets of paper. Types of printers. The types of printers are all-in-one or AIO printer, dot matrix printer, inkjet printer, laser printer, multifunction printer or MFP, thermal printer, LED printer. Printer qualities. The printer qualities are color. Color is important for users who need to print pages for presentations or maps or other pages where color is part of the information. Resolution. Printer resolution, the sharpness of text and images on paper, is usually measured in dots per inch or DPI. Speed. If one does much printing, the speed of the printer becomes important. Memory. Most printers come with a small amount of memory, for example 1 megabyte, that can be expanded by the user. Did you know the world's first computer printer was a 19th century mechanically driven apparatus invented by Charles Babbage for his difference engine? Monitor. The term monitor is often used synonymously with computer screen or display. The monitor displays the computer's user interface and open programs, allowing the user to interact with the computer, typically using the keyboard and mouse. Types of monitor. A monitor is a standard output device which shows the output information. A monitor is also one of the important parts of the computer because without the monitor, the system cannot work. So this is the standard output device. There are 3 types of monitors: CRT monitors, LCD monitors, and LED monitors. CRT stands for cathode ray tube. These are an old model monitors. LCD stands for liquid crystal display. The main advantage of LCDs are lightweight, they occupy less place, 12-volt power consumption, and low radiation, and it supports high resolutions. LED stands for light emitting diode. Actually, there is no difference between LCD and LED monitors, but there is a better picture quality in LED monitors. So nowadays, all prefer LED monitors over LCD monitors. Did you know multiple technologies have been used for computer monitors? Until the 21st century, most use cathode ray tubes, but they have largely been superseded by LCD monitors. Now we will discuss the I/O interface. An input-output interface is the piece of equipment or location at which information can be input and output from a device, such as a computer. Examples of an input interface are command line, such as a DOS prompt. You manually enter in commands to achieve the results that you want. The keyboard is also part of this interface. An interface is a data path between 2 separate devices in a computer system. Interface buses can be classified based on the number of bits that are transmitted at a given time to serial versus parallel ports. In a serial port, only 1 bit of data is transferred at a time. types of interfaces. The interface to a peripheral from an I/O module must be tailored to the nature and operation of the peripheral. In general terms, the dialog for a write operation is: the I/O module sends a control signal requesting permission to send data. The peripheral acknowledges the request. The I/O module transfers data, one word or a block depending on the peripheral. The peripheral acknowledges receipt of the data. Point-to-point and multi-point configurations. The connection between an I/O module in a computer system and external devices can be either point-to-point or multi-point. Firewire serial bus. With processor speeds reaching gigahertz range and storage devices holding multiple gigabits, the I/O demands for personal computers, workstations, and servers are formidable. Firewire configurations. Firewire uses a daisy chain configuration with up to 63 devices connected off a single port. InfiniBand. InfiniBand is a recent I/O specification aimed at the high-end server market. Let's now talk about I/O ports. In computing, input-output ports, or I/O port, is the communication between an information processing system and the outside world, possibly a human or another information processing system. Inputs are the signals or data received by the system, and outputs are the signals or data sent from it. The term can also be used as part of an action. To perform I/O is to perform an input or output operation. An I/O port is a device that looks like a memory cell to the computer, but contains connections to the outside world. An I/O port typically uses a latch rather than a flip-flop to implement the memory cell. When the CPU writes to the address associated with the latch device captures the data and makes it available on a set of wires external to the CPU and memory system.
Computer ports. Computer ports are normally located at the back, as you can see in the picture, or on the side of your computer. They allow us to connect cables to computers, routers, modems, and other peripheral devices. The Universal Serial Bus. The USB is a relatively new item within the personal computer. You will see one or more USB sockets at the back of the system unit, allowing you to plug in devices designed for the USB. These devices include printers, scanners, digital cameras, keyboards, mouses, game peripherals, etc. Memory sticks can also be plugged into a USB port, allowing you to copy data to or from your hard disk. Serial port. The serial port is a socket located at the back of your computer, which enables you to connect items to the computer such as modem. They are commonly labeled as COM1 or COM2. Parallel port. The parallel port is a socket located at the back of your computer which enables you to connect items to the computer such as printer. It is commonly labeled as LPT1 or LPT2. Network port. The network port allows you to plug a network cable into your computer, which then lets you communicate with other computers connected to your local network or to the other computers via the internet. Firewire port. Firewire is an interface from Apple Incorporated that allows high data transfer between your computer and a compatible device such as a digital camera. Firewire has largely replaced earlier ways of transferring data such as parallel or SCSI cables. There are numerous versions of Firewire, including fiber optic, coaxial, and wireless versions. Most multimedia computers will have FireWire ports built into them.
Now we will discuss DMA. DMA, short for Direct Memory Access, is a technique for transferring data from main memory to a device without passing it through the CPU. Computers that have DMA channels can transfer data to and from devices much more quickly than computers without a DMA channel can. This is useful for making quick backups and for real-time applications. Direct Memory Access, or DMA, means CPU grants I/O module authority to read from or write to memory without involvement. Basic process of DMA. A DMA can generate memory addresses and initiate memory read or write cycles. It contains several processor registers that can be written and read by the CPU. General organization of the DMA controller. The DMA controller mega function is designed for data transfer in different system environments. Two module types are Type 0 and Type 1. They are provided and the user can choose the number of each module type. Type 0 modules are designed to transfer data residing on the same bus, and Type 1 modules are designed to transfer data between two different buses. Each module can support up to 4 DMA channels. The mega function supports up to 16 total DMA channels. DMA transfer. The DMA request line is used to request a DMA transfer. The bus request, or BR signal, is used by the DMA controller to request the CPU to relinquish control of the buses. The CPU activates the bus grant, or BG output, to inform the external DMA that its buses are in a high impedance state so that they can be used in the DMA transfer. The address bus is used to address the DMA controller and memory at a given location. The device select, or DS, and register select, or RS lines are activated by addressing the DMA controller. The RD and WR lines are used to specify either a read RD or write WR operation on the given memory location. The DMA acknowledge line is set when the system is ready to initiate data transfer. The data bus is used to transfer data between the I/O device and memory. When the last word of data in the DMA transfer is transferred, the DMA controller informs the termination of the transfer to the CPU by means of the interrupt line. DMA controller. DMA controller is used to transfer the data between the memory and I/O device. The DMA controller needs the usual circuits to communicate with the CPU and I/O device. In addition to this, it needs an address register and address bus buffer. The address register contains an address of the desired location in memory. The word count register holds the number of words to be transferred. The control register specifies the mode of transfer. DMA transfer cycle. The DMA transfer cycle is a method of accessing RAM without interfering with the CPU. It is similar to DMA for allowing I/O controllers to read or write RAM without CPU intervention. Now in the end, let us summarize what we have learned in this lecture. A computer peripheral is a device that is connected to a computer but is not part of the core computer architecture. The mouse allows an individual to control a pointer in a graphical user interface, or GUI, and manipulate on-screen objects such as icons, files, and folders. The keyboard's design comes from the original typewriter keyboards, which arranged letters and numbers in a way that prevented the type bars from getting jammed when typing quickly. A printer is an external hardware device responsible for taking computer data and generating a hard copy of that data. Printers are one of the most used peripherals on computers and are commonly used to print text, images, and photos. The monitor displays the computer's user interface and open programs, allowing the user to interact with the computer, typically using the keyboard and mouse.